know you're so happy about it. I actually think the Red Sox might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me.
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moonlight, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMazMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
The first place team in the AL West. Swinging a liner, knocked down by Bregman. He scurries to get it, spins, fires, scooped up, and that is out number 3. And that's the ball game. The Red Sox with their first series sweep of the Houston Astros since 2000.
21-7 in their last 28, 11 games over 500 for the first time in 3 years. And if they win tonight, the first time that they are a dozen games over 500 since 2021 when they made the playoffs. 617-779-0985. We got a lot to catch up on from the weekend. The significance of the sweep. The potential stealing of signs, tipping of pitches, whatever it was that took place with the Houston Astros. You want to touch on that? Certainly we can do that. That was in... Jimmy, that was Saturday's game, right? See, they all run together for me after a while. That was in the Saturday game, correct?
Yes. Tipping pitches was Saturday. Cheating was Saturday specifically.
So yesterday was Framber Valdez and Giolito. Okay, all right. So I just got to get my starting pitcher straight. And if you want to go back to the trading deadline, we can do that as well. Some new information out there about Joe Ryan and the Red Sox. One report indicating that the Red Sox didn't really make a serious attempt with Joe Ryan until 15 minutes before 6 o'clock, which does not strike me as an accident. I think the Red Sox set it up that way, and it does bring the question of Craig Breslow and his effectiveness into the discussion again. And let me just say, if you want to talk about Friday night, when I was at the game and you want to ask me, there were photos that appeared on Twitter of me and owner John Henry's luxury suite before the game and in the early innings of that game, first and second inning. I'm happy to take your thoughts and questions on that, too.
I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, and I'm here to answer yours.
You're misleading the public?
617-779-0985. All of that in play on the Baseball Hour. Let me go back to the trade deadline. And the failure to acquire Joe Ryan from the Twins. So here's the question. Is there a point where the Red Sox performance will make you look back at the Joe Ryan decision and say they were right, they didn't need him? Now, let me make this part clear. I like Ryan. I like him a lot. I don't think the Red Sox have anybody on their staff that is a comparable pitcher. But if some guys overachieve, overachieve, it is possible that they could go just as far without him as with him. Now, I'm not telling you I like the odds or that I didn't want the player, because I did, and I do. But if Lucas Giolito pitches like he did yesterday and Brian Bayo pitches like he did when he pitched a complete game, and the Red Sox have 3, maybe even 4 viable starters for the rest of the season and the postseason, then I don't know how much of a difference Joe Ryan would make. Now, again, let me make this part clear. I wanted the player. I still want the player. I don't think the Red Sox pushed hard enough to get them, and I believe it's going to bite them in the ass because I don't believe in the people they have. So Jared Carrabis had an interesting report on his podcast, on his national podcast, which is released through Underdog Fantasy, right, Jimmy Stewart?
Yep, he does it every day. Baseball is Dead, Tim and Dallas Braden, and Jay Hay. And
obviously he's worked with Dallas Braden for a time. Jared has. But in talking about the trade deadline, he spoke specifically about Craig Breslow and the perception of Craig Breslow inside the walls at Fenway Park and inside the Fenway Sports Group. I don't know if he actually mentioned the Fenway Sports Group, but inside of Fenway
It's all
Park.
the same thing, Tony.
Okay, not necessarily. In any case, here is what Jared said about Craig Breslow.
People within the organization were all like adding a Dustin May. We already have that. Why did we need to go out and get that? We gave up that. And then also when he had his press conference at 7 o'clock, obviously people throughout the organization were sitting there listening and not believing things, being like, well, I don't believe that. I don't know that he has the confidence of a lot of people over there.
Okay, so look, to me, Breslow doesn't have the confidence of a lot of people over there, and he certainly doesn't have a lot of confidence in the people out here, meaning those of you watching from the outside. I don't know how he could. So you want to tell me that the Red Sox had a pretty good offseason and that they acquired Alex Bregman and Garrett Crochet. You can even throw Aroldis Chapman, Carlos Narvaez in there. I would give you yes, 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 yes. For the most part, good offseason. And you want to tell me that Narvaez and Chapman were Breslow selections and they thought they could get more out of those talents than teams did a year ago? I give them credit for those. Bregman and Crochet become a little less about credit for Breslow because of the fact that those guys are good players. Everybody knew what kind of players they were. And so the question was whether or not, I think Theo Epstein also advised. He certainly advised on Bregman, which we know from a report from Jen McCaffrey of The Athletic. But the bottom line is this. I still don't have a lot of faith in Craig Breslow. I'm not sure they handled the negotiation right with Joe Ryan. If the Red Sox called with 15 minutes to go before the deadline and tried to pressure the Twins into Joe Ryan, well, then that means they weren't making the kind of offer that could close the deal earlier than that. If you have a legit offer and it's one that the other team has to take seriously, it doesn't matter when you make it. But if you have an offer that is something less than that, and you think the team is trying to pawn off players because they're trying to cut payroll, then you say, oh, let's take advantage of the clock. Let's throw something here at them at the last minute and see whether or not they take a nibble. And then if so, we'll see if we can reel these suckers in and see what we can get. So I think Joe Ryan was the last thing. So that takes us up to the trading deadline. Now the other part of the story. The Red Sox historically in recent years, and now I'm talking about the uniform personnel, Alex Cora and his players, have come out of the trading deadline and moped and bitched and complained about the fact that they were hung out to dry by the front office and ownership. Pretty much the same thing happened this year. And instead of sulking and then sucking, they went out and they beat the Houston Astros 3 times and now have the top wild card spot in the American League, which is not an insignificant thing. I'll get to that in a minute. And they're within 3 games of the division lead. If the Red Sox win the division or finish with the top wild card spot, they will, at a minimum, host the first round at Fenway Park. Okay, they will host the first round. So that means 3 playoff games, potentially, or a minimum of 2, I should say, because if they're in the division series, if they somehow end up with a bye, and that's a big ask, but you get the idea. So they're in a much better spot now than they were going into the deadline. The 3 games over the weekend made a difference in terms of the standings. That's one. And the attitude of the team on the field certainly did not hurt them. If you look at the way the Red Sox played, they did not seem to be the least bit affected by the trade deadline or the inaction of the front office and ownership. Again, I think Cora was brought on board a while ago. I have my theories as to how that happened, and I'm going all the way back to the trading of Rafael Devers. But my guess is someone whom Cora trusts approached him and said, we need you to stop throwing us under the bus to the media. We need you to stop bitching about the roster. We need you to get on board. We need to get everybody pointed in the right direction. And if I had to guess, it was either Theo Epstein or John Henry. And I lean Epstein hard because Epstein's really the only one who has any sort of real baseball cred with Cora. Now, again, Henry and Sam Kennedy and Tom Werner brought Cora back from his suspension and were willing to give him a lifeline. So we shouldn't dismiss that. But if I had to guess, it was Theo. That's just my opinion. 617-779-0985. We'll also get to the not the seventh inning rally, the situation that took place on Saturday when the Astros deliberately balked Trevor Story to third base because they felt that he was giving signs indicating what the pitch was to the batter at the plate. And again, this is now the fourth or fifth time this year, depending on what you want to include, that the Red Sox have had a dispute or an issue with the opposing team with regard to the opposing pitcher tipping pitches and the Red Sox picking up on it, or the Red Sox being accused of relaying signs either from one of the coaches' boxes or from second base. So you tell me what you want to make of that. Me personally, I think that there is something the Red Sox are doing that the customary team does not do. Will Middlebrook said in the broadcast over the weekend that the Red Sox are doing things that every other team does, and yet the Red Sox are the only ones that seem to get pushback and on-field arguments from the opposition. So 617-779-0985. We'll kick it off tonight with Eric in Reading, who wants to vent on the Red Sox. Go ahead, Eric.
Maz, until they win the World Series, they should not be spared, and we need to ramp up the criticism. Then they will be vindicated. And they're also being lying, disingenuous when they say, like, oh, yeah, we're allegedly going to go full throttle. This is the year. We're going to get uncomfortably aggressive. And they do nothing. They dump Devers when the first chance they get because they want to save money. It's terrible. And until they also replace the holes, which I don't think they'll do, hitting-wise, too, and get an AL-proven pitcher, we should not hold up. They need to win the World Series before we can back off, I think. Thanks. Bye.
So, Eric, you should be nothing less than championship-driven. I'm not going to change your mind on that, and you shouldn't change your mind on that. But I will also tell you in the same breath that coming into this year, none of us thought the Red Sox were going to win the championship. Now, they were in a position to add Joe Ryan, and they didn't. And not only Joe Ryan, other pitchers. If they were still dinking around with the Twins on Joe Ryan and they missed the opportunity to get Merrill Kelly or Griffin Jacks, who would have been bullpen help, but you get the idea. There were other trades to make on the final day of the deadline. So this idea that they made a bid and got stood up by Joe Ryan, what about all the other moves? That wasn't the only thing out there. There were good relievers who moved that could have helped you too. Your solution was Steven Matz from the Cardinals, who made his debut over the weekend and was fine. But better pitchers moved. There was a lack of aggressiveness in terms of the actual deals made by the Red Sox when push came to shove. And if the Red Sox want to tell us that they were aggressive and they were uncomfortable, at the end of the day, it still comes down to what the trade was and whether you made it. So on trading day, they got beaten. And they got beaten significantly. And if they miss the playoffs, fall apart, or get to the playoffs and get manhandled because their pitching wasn't good enough, then we can absolutely look at the deadline and say they didn't do enough. And I'll even go one further. I will tell you that if they now have to extend themselves for pitching in the offseason, they should have done it at this deadline and gotten themselves a guy who was a known commodity. Because Joe Ryan was the best player available at this deadline, if you ask me. And again, he didn't get traded, so there's question as to how available he was. But the Minnesota Twins were unloading just about everything. And so it suggests to me that certainly Ryan could have been had. So again, we'll get to your calls, the controversy regarding Trevor Story, maybe relaying pitches from second base. All of that when we come back on the Baseball Hour.
I'm here to answer your questions.
I know he's slow to the plate and maybe, trying to slow him down, but he's not running. I also don't know if he thinks Trevor's trying to, relay signs or sees a grip or something. So he balks on purpose. See, he wanted him to go to third that whole time because he thought he was relaying Neris's grip. Sometimes you can do that with split finger guys. You can really see when they dig in their glove and you can see the grip. So he didn't like that. That's why he kept going to the inside move and eventually just balked him over on purpose. Yeah, COP, I was worried about this. I knew he was going to be angry first with Trevor Story. We started barking at Kyle Hudson here as he's coming off because Trevor was already gone. I had a feeling this was going to happen.
Yeah, benches are empty. Here come the bullpens, too.
Yeah, imagine the Astros being mad about stealing signs. But guess what? That's part of the game.
A dust up here. Neris was very, very upset. Both benches emptied. So did the bullpens.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was going to happen. You see Kyle Hudson laughing it off like, hey, we're not doing anything wrong. So he kept going to the inside move with Trevor Story at short. Then eventually balked on purpose to move him over to third because a lot of guys that throw split fingers a lot, you can pick the grip out of their glove. This is not cheating. This is part of the game. If you don't like it, you hide your grip better. This is just how it works. All teams do this. If you're going to show the grip in your glove, the team is going to take advantage of that. He didn't like it, took exception, started barking at the third base coach because Trevor Story was already gone. Pretty tired.
That was in Saturday's game. And if you didn't see it, and I should say, by the way, that I think a lot of you probably didn't see a lot of the weekend. Friday's game was on Apple TV. Yesterday was on Roku. Saturday's game was a Fox game, right, Jimmy Stewart? Or was that Nesson, actually?
It was Nesson.
Nesson, I take it back, because that was Will Middlebrooks. As the year has gone on, I think Will Middlebrooks is getting more and more comfortable in the booth. And he has had an ability to sort of predict what was going to come next, not in just terms of pitches, but his awareness in the game is pretty good, and it's now coming through. But on this one, I disagree with him. Okay, I disagree with him. So you want to tell me that guys relaying signs from second base happens? Yes, of course. Absolutely. The Red Sox aren't the only ones who do that. Here are my two questions. One, why are the Red Sox the only ones getting into on-field disputes about it? Because the pitcher for the Astros over the weekend, Hector Neris, was pitching to Carlos Narvaez, with Trevor Story at second base, and then deliberately balked him to third so that Story couldn't peek in at his hands anymore. So it clearly pissed him off, and then got in an argument with the Red Sox third base coach, Kyle Hudson, at the end of the inning. And the Red Sox have had, I will call it, similar disputes with the Angels this year. The Toronto Blue Jays thought they were tipping pitches. The Cincinnati Reds, Terry Francona, at one point said that Cora is one of the best in the game at picking up when a pitcher is tipping pitches. And all these teams have made these observations about the Red Sox. It doesn't feel to me like anyone else is really getting called out for it. So what is it about the Red Sox that is pissing people off about this? There is something in particular. And just quickly, the guy who was pitching Saturday, Neris, is 36 years old. He's been in the big leagues for 12 years. He's pitched for 5 different franchises. My point is, this is a veteran guy. He's been around, and he didn't like it. Most veteran guys kind of shrug stuff off. This guy didn't. They have perspective, is my point. Just something to keep an eye on, along with all the other things. Next segment, by the way, Jimmy, I do want to read some of the emails I got today about my visit with John Henry on Friday night. You should hear a couple of these. They're pretty good.
It's electric.
Sean in Marlboro. Sean, what do you got?
Hey, I got a couple quick thoughts for you. First one is the Red Sox seem to overpay for the couple of arms they brought in, and they got what seems like nothing for Devers. And the whole deadline thing, like, had you just waited, traded Devers to a team that was desperate, and then got a third team involved and sent some prospects to Minnesota. It just seems like they could have gotten someone decent. The other thing is with the whole, we want a pitcher that's under, or player that's under team control for another year or two. Well, if a team's rebuilding, why would they trade away someone that's under control? Like,
they wouldn't, Sean. I'm going to let you go just because I got other people on the line. They wouldn't. But in the case of the Twins, they were an exception. They were literally ripping it apart and getting rid of anyone making any sort of money. Now, Joe Ryan, I think, is making $3 million this year. The only thing I'll tell you is that next year, that was going to escalate. It was his second year, might have been his first year of arbitration. No, had to be his second year of arbitration. So that number is going to kick up to $10 million, maybe more. So for the Twins, they're dumping future money, but they can make that trade during the offseason too. So that answers that question. What was the first part of his question? Do you remember that?
I don't.
Something to do with the trading deadline. And I don't remember. Oh, the prospects the Red Sox gave up, and why didn't they hold Devers until later? Because the Giants put the heat on him. The Giants said, we're doing this now. We're not doing it at all. And they were willing to take on the whole contract. And you say, well, why not wait and see if someone else will take Devers? Because no one was going to take on that whole contract. So this one, I will say over and over again, the reason the Red Sox moved Devers was the money. They found someone to take the money, and they ultimately didn't really care what they got back. So one of the prospects they got back from the Giants is the guy they sent to, one of the guys they sent to the Dodgers for Dustin May. And the reason why those deals were made late is because there wasn't as much money involved. So you say, well, Dustin May happened at the last minute. Steven Matz happened at the last minute. True. Because the salaries were relatively insignificant compared to, and future money. Relatively insignificant compared to Rafael Devers. That was a huge difference. Remember, too, I think the biggest money deal, I'd have to think about it, but I think the biggest money deal that made it the deadline was Carlos Correa. The Astros took on Correa. I don't think they gave up anything to get him.
They didn't. They gave up one middling prospect.
I mean, the Twins ate a little bit of the money, $33 million over the remaining
30 of the 108.
Yeah, but the Astros took on the large majority of that salary. That's why that deal got done. John and Lynn on the Red Sox. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Maz. Hey, thanks a lot. I love the show. Real quick, I don't think you're really being fair to the team about the trade deadline because it's real easy to say for a team that they lost in the trade to other teams, but in the end, after making the trade, is the team better? And the one name that keeps coming up was Jared Duran, and all these people willing to trade Jared Duran, but he's the one guy that kept them going through this streak as of late against the big boy teams. On top of that, I think they really did addition by subtraction by getting rid of Devers. And I don't think we talk about that enough with the team chemistry and how things have been rolling. And if we would have won these games with Devers on the team. Thank you.
Okay, so look, John, I understand that Duran's got some value. I think he's expendable. The Red Sox, one of the things I heard over the weekend, I meant to mention this on Felger and Maz, was the idea that the Marcelo Meyer injury really screwed the Red Sox up because that meant that Rafaela had to play second base. And because Rafaela has been playing second base, now Duran's got to play center and they couldn't trade Duran. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. So what? Put David Hamilton at second base. You rave about his defense. Everyone talks about David Hamilton's defense. Put Hamilton at second base and leave Rafael in center field. And if it's getting you Joe Ryan, you'll be fine. So and I don't think Duran has had the impact that you do. I'm not telling you he has sucked. He had some stretches there where he was playing pretty well. But Jarren Duran's 29 years old. You have a glut of outfielders, and you easily could have made that move and gotten yourself Joe Ryan, and it had been worth it. Joe Ryan would be worth it. So now look, if you think Cooper Criswell and Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo, and I know that Criswell was sent back to AAA, but if you think those guys are going to repeatedly come through for you down the stretch, and they do, well, then all the power to you. The Red Sox are right, and at the end of it, we'll look at it and say the absence of Ryan didn't really hurt them that much. But I like to believe that to be a championship caliber team, Garrett Crochet is going to need a legitimate guy at his side. And to me, that guy would be Ryan. Now, again, over the weekend, one of the most important things for the Red Sox in that series, no Crochet, no Bayo. And they took 3 from the Astros. Friday night was a pitching matchup of epic proportion, and they won the game 2-1. 617-779-0985. I want to give you a couple of things from that game on Friday. We'll continue with your phone calls as well. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. Don't go anywhere.
Essential. Full of experts.
Oh, I like this.
It's the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz on the Sports Hub.
It's Trevor Story leads off here in the 7th. That's ball 4 to Trevor Story. So that's the first walk issued by Brash. Get a leadoff man on base for the first time tonight. Yoshida, the DH tonight, 0 for 2. Runner going. As the throw to second base will be too late. Story had a great job. And his 18th steal of the year. Now it's 3 and 2. And Yoshida gets hit by the pitch. Starting to get away from Brown. He walked the first hitter of the inning, Story. Now he hits Yoshida on a pitch that would have been ball 4 otherwise. Now runners on second and third, and it's Wilyer Abreu. And the first pitch, he lifts one toward the left field line. Here's another chance for Sanchez along that sidewall. And this time it looked like a fan reached over, but Sanchez caught it anyway. And the run scores from third. And Story able to scramble home for the first Boston run.
So why would we play you that rally? Walk, stolen base, hit batter. I'll get to the runners advancing second and third in a minute, and then a sac fly. That's how the Red Sox tied the game on Friday night to win the game 2-1. They were down 1-0 at the time. Hunter Brown basically shut them down the whole game. The Red Sox scratched out a run on the bottom of the 7th without the benefit of a hit. And this is important because early in the year, they were striking out, getting themselves out. We talked about it a lot. They weren't able to put the ball in play. They weren't able to advance runners. Just little basic things that might help you win a game, particularly against good pitching. Where I've said this too over the years, that you don't beat good pitching with good offense. You beat good pitching with better pitching and fundamental play. So what happened? Trevor Story walked, stole second, 18 for 18 on stolen base attempts is Trevor Story. Then Yoshida got hit by a pitch, so now you get first and second, nobody out. Here's where the Red Sox got lucky. Ceddanne Rafaela tried to bunt and fouled the ball off. He then swung and got hit effectively a swinging bunt, which was dribbled out in front of the plate. The throw was made to first base. They got him out, but now you have second and third. Now you get a sac fly and the run comes home. So they had turned him loose to swing away, and they got the result of the bunt. Then what happened in extra innings, the Red Sox had played some good defense at the top of the inning, got a key out. Trevor Story made a fabulous play to field a ground ball, throw sort of against his body on one leg to get a run at the plate, get a runner at the plate, prevent the Astros from scoring. So again, just fundamental play. You got a walk, a steal, a dribbler that advanced the runners, a sac fly, and then a defensive play that cut down a run at the plate. They get to the bottom of the inning. The Astros back themselves into a corner. Roman Anthony comes to the plate. This happens.
And a fly ball to center field. That will end it. McCormick goes all the way back. It's over his head on the warning track. Roman Anthony's first career walk-off hit helps the Red Sox beat the Astros in Boston.
So let me throw a few numbers at you quickly with regard to the Red Sox and the Astros. First of all, Houston is not hitting. Houston has lost 8 of 10. I just looked this up a little while ago. So it was an easier task for the Red Sox, especially with no Yordan Alvarez in that Houston lineup. But at the end of the day, when you add it all up, Houston is 2-8 in its last 10 games. In the 2 wins, they scored 16 runs against Washington, who sucks. In the 8 losses, they scored 13 runs, including only 5 against the Red Sox in 3 games this weekend. So, as much as you can steal signs from second base and who knows what else, you still have to pitch to win. So, the stealing of signs or tipping of pitches or whatever it is with the Red Sox that is angering other teams, they still had to be able to keep the Astros down to win the games, and they've been able to do that. So 14-2 in the last 16 home games raises a bit of a red flag because you look at that and say, well, what are you doing in your own ballpark that's giving you an advantage? And I will also say just quickly that I had Thomas, our intern, look this up earlier. During this stretch, going back to the beginning of the Reds series, and I think the Red Sox are 21-7 during that period of time. And the wins at home, they're striking out 19% of the time. On the road, the number's 25%. That might not sound like a big difference. It is. So they're putting the ball play in better at Fenway Park, hitting for a higher average and more power, and most importantly, not striking out. Okay, I think that is huge for this team in particular. Steve in Fall River. Steve, you got to make it quick because I got other people on the phone, but what do you got?
They will be in first place before 4 more series elapse. The reason is Trevor Story's white hot, and Rafaela has woken up the last 2 games. I feel like he's ready to get into his streak. In regards to Trevor Story, I told friends, I think I've told you, Tony, he is the most important player on this team. I didn't say he's the most valuable. Most important. I hear the broadcast trying to overdo Bregman, overdo that, blah, blah, blah. This guy is the most important player on the team. He also has the most RBIs since June 1st.
Okay, I'm going to let you go, Steve, just because I got other people to get to. But I'll just say this about Story. He's having a way better year than I thought he would. However, I looked it up today, and you know where he ranks in WAR? And I'm just using the modern metrics here. You know where he ranks in WAR among major league shortstops? Middle of the pack. 17th, I think it is. So we look at him and think he's having a great year, but based on other shortstops in Major League Baseball, he's average or even slightly below. But I will say average. I'll give him average because he's been out there a lot, and he made a terrific defensive play on Friday night. Might have been his biggest play of the weekend, and he's had a couple of hits. He had a couple of hits yesterday where he hit the ball to the opposite field. When Story's hitting the ball the other way, he's a better player. I just wish he did it more often. Mike's in Fall River. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, so I watched a John Boy video of Jazz Chisholm on second base, and he was taking the lead and then leaning back, looking into the pitcher's glove. And I'm curious, what these other teams actually, who are they blaming? Cora, the Red Sox? Are they another source that could be helping them with these tipping pitches? What are your thoughts on that?
So, Mike, I don't know. It's a good question. I can theorize that something's going on, but to me, it's the pattern. In other words, if this were a one-off and this hadn't happened all year, I might look at it and say, well, why all of a sudden is this coming up? Is this something that's getting around the league and teams are wondering? But now it happened with the Angels. Terry Francona said, the Cora is one of the best at being able to decipher what pitch is coming and when a pitcher is tipping his pitches and getting an edge on that. And that was the game, if you remember, against the Reds, where the Red Sox absolutely teed off. I can't remember the pitcher's name, but they teed off on him in the first inning. They were all over him right out of the gate. They knew what was coming because they did. And Chris Bassett thought he was tipping pitches against the Red Sox, and the kid in Luzardo for the Phillies in Philadelphia. He was tipping pitches. So the Red Sox have a knack for picking up on stuff like that. And again, some of these games are on the road. The Phillies game was on the road. So, it couldn't have been like a television camera or something stealing signs at Fenway Park. But the numbers at Fenway are dramatic. Dramatic. Jeff in a car on Jaron Duran. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, man. So I do agree with you. I do think Jaron Duran is expendable. But where I disagree is thinking the Twins would take him on. I mean, this was a total tear down, reset the franchise for the Twins. I don't see why. I know he has team control, but 28-year-old outfielder for a top-of-the-line starter, I think the Twins were more so looking for like a top 10 overall prospect. Thank you.
Yeah, so, Jeff, it might have been both. They might have wanted a deal that included Duran because they needed some veteran players, which is part of the reason they kept Ryan. I think Ryan and Duran's salaries are going to be comparable. The only difference is that Duran is one more year of control and probably would not require some sort of big expenditure to re-sign. And when I say big expenditure, I'm talking like a Carlos Correa type of contract or what have you. Joe Ryan's going to cost money for whoever signs him in free agency. Ryan's going to get a big deal. So, but I generally agree with your point. And just this is an important thing too. The news or the information that Duran was wanted by the Twins came out of Minnesota. It didn't come out of Boston. So the Twins wanted. The other thing is they may have wanted Wilyer Abreu more than they wanted Duran, which would also make sense because he's not even eligible for arbitration, I think, for another year. Quickly, Max in a truck. Max, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, Mads? So I'm invested into this team. Why didn't the Red Sox trade for a guy like Joe Ryan? Why does Craig Breslow wait 15 minutes before the deadline to call Minnesota? And I don't even believe that he even did that. Like, this team is playing so well, and he did not invest into the team. I just don't understand. Is he scared? Or I just don't get why he didn't invest into the team. Thanks for taking my call, Mads.
Yep, Max, I think they want you to believe that they put on the full court press for Joe Ryan, just the same way they want you to believe that they put on the full court press for Juan Soto during the offseason, and they got neither player. So they want you to think they're trying. Don't blame us. We're giving it a good go. But I do think that the Red Sox, look, that minor league players are most valuable financially. That's where they're most valuable. They can give you anywhere from, call it, 3 to 6 years of service for almost no money. The first 3 years, they're going to make under $1 million. Chump change. So if you can get productive young players, it's a way to control your payroll. And teams like the small market teams, like the Tampa Bay Rays, operate as if most every guy they have has some value and can give the team something. So they keep a lot of them. Of course, they have to because they don't have the money to pay anybody. But they can keep, they generally keep all of them. Or 90%. The Red Sox don't have to do that unless they're really concerned about controlling payroll, which they are. Or certainly more than they've been, more interested in controlling payroll than they've been in the past. 617-779-0985. We'll wrap it up with your calls. I'll read you a couple of emails I got over the weekend, too, or in the last day or so. We'll do that when we wrap it up on the baseball hour.
It's electric. This is... Tony Maz and the Baseball Hour on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
See if we can squeeze in one more call here before we get to some emails. Todd in Attleboro. Todd, what do you got?
Hey, man, it's a great show and everything. I just wanted to say something about the Red Sox. I don't know why everybody's trying to hitch their wagon to this whole Joe Ryan. Did you see the turnover the Orioles did? You telling me we couldn't use O'Hare? That guy went to the All-Star game and he plays first base. The Orioles practically turned over their entire roster. And from my understanding, because I'm from down there, my family was telling me, people were telling me they might be ready to move on from Adley Rutschman, even though he's hurt, even though he's injured. That's because don't forget, they drafted a catcher in the first and second round.
Yeah, so Todd, someone brought up Rutschman's name last week. Jimmy Stewart, I think it was you, wasn't it?
Oh, that was me. Hi.
Yeah, so look, I think the Orioles are obviously doing a lot of different things there to shave some payroll. And look, you want to talk about O'Hearn, fine. The Red Sox were apparently in on Eugenio Suarez with the Diamondbacks, so they were clearly looking for some sort of right-handed bat that could play first base, factor into their lineup. I'll take your word for it. I mean, we're fixated on Joe Ryan because I think he was the best talent available, and I think that's the biggest need still. I mean that in the short term and the long. They need a pitcher for both. They need a starter for both the short term and the long. And by that, I mean this season, certainly they could have used one. And the next 2 years, I think they're going to need one behind Crochet anyway. I just want to get to these couple of emails. Thought you might get a kick out of them. I popped in, was invited to pop into the owner's box at Fenway Park on Friday night, so I stuck my head in to see John Henry. We had a quick conversation. Jimmy Stewart, you got a chuckle out of this?
You're misleading the public?
Okay, so Jimmy, when you first saw this appear on Twitter, what was your initial reaction? And be honest.
I can't believe he got in John Henry's box.
Why is that so shocking?
Well, I guess it shouldn't be so shocking, but I kind of knew it was going to happen when you were talking about going to the game, that somebody would find you and be like, hey, come here. I didn't know it was going to be John Henry. I figured it might be another high-ranking member of the Red Sox organization, but I don't know. I giggled about it because my last known interaction with the show and John Henry was 2013 when John Henry, to my face, told me to go F myself.
I forgot about that story. I'd love to tell you there was some sort of, in all seriousness, that there was some sort of dramatic event that took place. There really wasn't. I said this earlier. I also had, walking up there, I'm thinking, well, there's a good chance someone's going to see me in the box and click on it on their phone. It's going to end up on the internet because everything ends up on the internet now. So, people...
Did you guys know that?
People were... Yes, definitely. People were busting my balls about getting caught in the owner's box as if it was some sort of secret. If it was a secret, you never would have seen it. Trust me. But,
did you watch any of those games?
This guy, John, writes in, Maz gets asked to go up to the owner's box, and he asks if he should go alone while leaving his son in the seats. Was he ready to tell his son to get lost, give him some cash, and tell him to take a cab home? Or did he think John Henry was going to whack him like Tony Soprano and didn't just want his son to see his dad get taken out?
I could see the latter happening.
Okay, I wasn't fearing for my life, although I did think there was a chance I could get yelled at. Also, Brian in Hartford writes in with the subject line, two-faced corporate Maz. Dear Felger, he sent this to all of us, although Jim Murray was not copied. I should forward it to him. I know Maz is lying whenever he says he isn't a Red Sox fan, and I understand that he's playing a character on the radio. But I never expected him to break, I'm assuming, I don't know what this word means.
Is it kayfabe?
Yes.
Kayfabe is a wrestling term.
Okay.
So when he's talking about characters, we do characters here, Howard. Kayfabe is you're one person off the air and you're another person behind a microphone or on TV.
Oh, okay. It says, I never expected him to break kayfabe in such a blatant and in-your-face way. Post-thaw era, my ass. What a big fat phony. Remember when Maz said he had no problem sharing his phone? What do you say we check out those emails and texts between him and Henry, Brian and Hartford? So I should just say that this whole thing about me saying I'm not a Red Sox fan, I was a Red Sox fan growing up. I've never hidden from that. And I would say there's still part of me that is. I don't think I've ever, I just like to think I can separate the two. So do I want them to lose? No, of course not. I'd like to see them win. It's better for everybody if they win. And I do actually get some level of satisfaction from a good baseball team, not a suck one. It's part of the reason I get angry. However, the job is the job. So I try to strike the balance between the two. I can't always say that I succeed. But if you don't understand that part of it, I can't help you. Sorry. Joe Murray coming up next. Joe, you have any questions?
How was the box?
It was nice.
I was texting you that night. I was like, hey, what? Oh, yeah?
I don't think I get texted.
Oh, yes. I was like, hey, what's going on there, man? That was the talk of Friday night. It's okay if you didn't. You were busy.
I don't remember.
All right. Well, it's fine.
I probably ignored them.
That's okay.
Can't say.
But I was trying to get, sources on the ground. What's going on over there? What's the food in that booth? They got lobster rolls in there? What do they got?
So I was joking about shrimp and lobster tails earlier. I didn't eat anything. The only thing I drank was a bottle of water. I was offered a bottle of water and I accepted.
That's to get fingerprints.
As soon as Linda showed up with some guests, I knew it was my time to leave. I didn't think they wanted me around for the guests.
I think it's a major troll job by you, but more from John Henry.
Really?
I just think it's such a troll job that hey, we're spending. Hey, we're doing our thing. We're spending the same that we used to do. Times have changed, Mr. Henry. I don't know if you know that, so I would have told him that.
Okay, well, there you go. Joe can have more for you here coming up in a minute. Kevin Majori's got your headlines. We'll catch you tomorrow.